Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I'm out in the middle of the woods today, and there's a reason for that. There's this old pine tree that's died, and we can look up and see the branch structure of it and kind of get some ideas for styling our pine bonsai trees. It's a really chilly day today. The temperature tonight is supposed to go down to minus 16 degrees Celsius. So I hope all my trees in the greenhouse survive okay. The tree we'll be looking at is an old pine, and it's about an hour walk into the woods. It's quite far down the trail, but we'll get there. Walking certainly warms you up, so don't worry about me. I'll be nice and warm. You can see that the water is just starting to freeze at the edges. Probably by tomorrow it'll be frozen over. One of the nice things about taking an early morning walk is just the solitude. It's so quiet out here. There's no one else around. You can take a long walk and meet no one. It can be just fantastic. Kind of contrasts to your busy everyday life. There's a squirrel's nest up there. Tough winter life for them. Wow, looks beautiful in here. You can see the sun peeping through over there a little bit. Everything's covered in a nice layer of snow. Amazing. We're getting close to the pine tree. It's just around the corner up here. It was a long uphill climb to this point. Yeah, it's pretty beautiful here with all these spruce trees. See them all covered in snow. Yeah, they look like carefully decorated Christmas trees. And there's the pine tree just down here. Okay, here's the pine. It's a Scots pine, and it was alive this summer, but yeah, it just got, it wasn't doing really well. It was still alive though, but now it's totally dead, so it's too bad. It was a great tree to look at along this path. So there it is. You can see the top of it up there and the base. It's not a really giant tree, but it's a good sized tree. It's probably quite old. You know, at least 100 years old. So let's go up and look at it. There's the trunk. You can see there's some hollow spots in it here. The wood's rotting away. There's a lot of, you know, drilled holes in it, either from woodpeckers or insects. And if you look up, you can see the branches still have their nice characteristic red color of a Scots pine on them. But there's no needles at all on the tree anymore. Totally dead. The reason I came out today to look at the Scots pine is to study the structure of the branches while there's no needles on the tree. So it's kind of a rare opportunity to see a mature Scots pine with absolutely no needles. So let's go in now and look at the branch structure. The first thing I want to show you is these zigzag branches. So this branch comes out from the trunk, and if you follow it along, it comes out to the tip, and right here you've got these zigzag branches. So it comes out, it goes back in towards the tree, and then it goes towards the outside again. So it kind of doubles back on itself, and I think this is a really cool style of branch. And you can see how much this one zigzags here. It's got a real twist to it. This one too. So That is a cool feature on a pine tree that I really like. It kind of goes against all my rules about everything fanning out, but in this case, you know, it goes in towards the trunk, and then it fans out again, and it looks absolutely cool. I just love that characteristic. This lowest branch is another example of a zigzag branch. It comes up, it grows out away from the tree, which is quite normal. Then we come up top here, and you can see there's the Z, or the Z, as it grows back in towards the center of the tree, and then it heads back out again. So a nice example of a zigzag branch. The next feature I wanted to show on the tree is just exactly how kind of normal looking these branches are. They look very much like a deciduous tree branch that you would grow in a bonsai. They come out from the trunk, they divide from 1 into 2, you know, 2 into 4, and so on. They have, you know, a major kind of branch leader, or a couple of them. Yeah, so you can see all the branches, if you look at them, kind of look like a deciduous tree, or a broadleaf tree right now. To look up at this tree, you wouldn't really guess that it's a coniferous tree or a pine tree, other than the, you know, the tight, fine branches at the ends of the branches. It comes out, subdivides, and then it just keeps dividing and gets finer and finer ramification towards the tip. And you know, it's maybe a little finer than you'd see on a deciduous tree, and that's because of the small needles. It doesn't have the big leaves. The other characteristic it has is that maybe the branches are a little flatter than a deciduous tree. You can see as it goes out towards the tip, they kind of get flat foliage pads, but not always. I see some sunlight at the top there. Yeah, so there's the branch structure on a pine tree with no needles. You can see everything, and it looks pretty well like a deciduous tree. You can see all the major subdivisions on the branches getting finer and finer. Very nice. That's a look at the Scots pine without any needles, a fairly mature tree. You can see that structure up top. And the reason I'm showing you this is that on my Austrian pine last year, I was getting what, you know, is called a fan-shaped branch on it, where the branch kind of came out and just subdivided and subdivided, and it didn't really have a major leader to the branch. It didn't really have a branch structure. It was just like a, you know, one branch dividing and dividing, and they were all kind of the equal thickness, and it didn't look like these branches up here. So what I did is I removed a lot of my ramification that I had grown in these fan-shaped branches, and I kind of stripped the branch down to the bare essentials, and then I'll regrow it at the tips. I'll start, you know, subdividing more, but I want to keep that major branch structure where, you know, you can trace the branch right from the trunk pretty well out to the tip. You know, there'll be some subdividing, but I want a major leader on my branches. And I also want to show off the branch structure. I don't want to have my branches on my pines just, you know, in a cloud of foliage where you can't see any branch structure unless you look underneath. And if you do look underneath, you know, a lot of pines I'm disappointed. All I see is this fanned out branch structure, no branch leader or anything, and I'm always disappointed. So yeah, I want it to be a more natural looking pine, and that's my goal. There's an Austrian pine here we're looking at. That's my goal, is to get a natural looking pine, not these pines that look like bonsais, or, you know, the pines that have the green helmets on them. I don't like that style, because it doesn't look natural to me. It looks like a bonsai tree. It doesn't look like a tree you'd see in nature. I'll continue my walk. So that was my talk about pine trees, what I'm trying to achieve with my Austrian pine, the branch structure. So right now my Austrian pine, I cleaned it all out, got a nice branch structure to it, but it's not very dense. It doesn't really have all the fine ramification. However, I'm hoping to, regrow that. I think this year, with the branches being quite bare, and it should recover quickly. It should grow in lots of fine branching coming off of the branches, a lot of back budding. The tree is really healthy, so we'll continue developing it into the future and try and get a natural looking pine tree. One that you would see in nature. There's a beautiful Austrian pine there. Notice how you can see the branch structure from down here. Looks really beautiful. The foliage isn't too dense, it's sort of medium. I'm back in the city now. I've still got about a 30-minute walk to get home, but I can walk along the river here. It's quite scenic and nice. The sun's been poking out every now and then today, so hopefully when I get back we can go in the plant room and it'll be nice and sunny and warm. It's been a nice walk this morning. It's a cold wind stinging your face and fresh air, no bugs or insects. It's just winter walking is fantastic. I'm back in the plant room. It's nice and warm in here, and today I'm going to be working on my Serissa bonsai. It's starting to get a little out of shape and needs some trimming and cleaning up. There are several things I want to correct today. I've got a branch hanging down here, and with a canopy on a tree, you've got a couple of profiles. You've got the upper profile, the outer shape, and then there's also the profile of the bottom of the canopy. And in this case, this tree is styled to look like an African acacia tree, so I'm keeping it flat on the bottom to look like maybe giraffes that are reaching up and nibbling at the bottom of the branches. So you get this flat kind of profile on these African trees. So I'll be either pruning off or raising this branch upwards to kind of correct that side of the tree. I have the soil that's piled up quite high at the base of the tree, and that's because this tree was repotted recently. I think back, that was about 3 months ago, I think. So I've got stones that were holding the tree in place. I can remove the stones and rake out some of that soil and expose a bit of the surface roots. And also the top of the tree, I've got a lot of vigorous shoots that are sticking out of the profile. And, just general tidying up, maybe restoring my cloud formations in the branches, kind of getting some separation so it just doesn't look like a topiary, so I get some definition in the upper canopy. When I last repotted this tree, I rotated the tree in the pot a little, choosing a slightly new front, and it made the tree a little long on this side and it was a little short on this side. So I'll be working towards equalizing the canopy to try and get a balanced tree so the canopy looks fairly symmetrical on the base of the trunk. I'm going to start the pruning process by trimming back all these really long shoots. So I'll come in, I'm trying to use directional pruning, so I'm going to take that one off here. I've got a shoot coming out lower down that looks better, so that comes off. There's one out the back here that can be pruned back. Always using directional pruning. And just removing all these excessively long shoots. And when you do this, you kind of get a better view of the tree, so you can make further styling decisions. It's hard to make styling decisions when there's all these weird shoots sticking out. Last year I had a lot of health problems with the tree. And I'm looking back and I'm thinking, last year I left my lights on a lot. Sometimes I left them on all night. And I think that messed up with the tree a bit. I think this year I'm being very, very conscious of getting enough rest for the tree. So at nighttime I shut all my lights off. Then in the morning I turn them back on. So it's getting that night and day. And I think that's what was missing last year. I think that's what caused, the health to kind of decline on the tree, was just I wasn't giving it the rest period it needed at night. So this year, everything's going really well with the tree. So You know, I'm not 100% sure that's what it was, but this year it's doing well. I'm also keeping my nighttime temperatures lower, which may be another factor that helps the tree out, so it's not so warm at night. So again, it gives it a good period of rest. I think that's important in a tree. It's certainly important with me. I need my proper rest at night and then a nice active daytime. So I think the tree needs the same. So I've gotten rid of a lot of those really long, excessively long shoots. Now I can come in and correct this branch here. Before I do any work on this branch, I want to come underneath and look at the structure. And this branch, it comes off of this major thick one here and kind of crisscrosses and interferes with another branch here, which is this one. So it's not the best branch in the world and probably should be removed. I want to grow the canopy out slowly and carefully. I don't want to get rapid growth and, you know, have these long spindly branches. By growing out slowly and carefully, you get a nice flowing branch structure and you get that change in taper from really thick branches at the base and gradually getting thinner towards the tips. So I don't want this long thin branch coming out to the profile. I don't want to sacrifice my branch structure for achieving a nice outside profile on the tree. That takes time, and that's, you know, what I'm willing to do is to take the time to grow this upper canopy out properly, not just pruning for a profile. So yeah, let's go underneath and we'll kind of look up at the branch structure, and I'll show you what I mean about, you know, this branch not being the best branch. I'll rotate the tree around. I've got the tree rotated around, and hopefully you can look up at the branch structure underneath here. So this branch that's hanging down comes off of this major branch here. It's not the best branch in the world. It doesn't flow out nicely from the main branch. So I'm going to correct that. I'm going to be doing some pruning on that branch, and it will make this, you know, profile a little funny on the tree, but usually these vigorous branches grow out quickly again anyway. So, you know, there's a good live vein coming up feeding this branch structure. So, all right, so let's start pruning. I'm going to take off this whole branch. It interferes with the branch beside it, and it comes off the trunk. It kind of, the main branch comes out this direction, and this one almost goes 90 degrees to the left. So I think the whole thing has to come off, and I will do that. Yeah, so I don't see another solution. So here I go. Done. So there's that branch. Make a nice cutting too. While I'm down looking up at the tree here, I'm just checking out some of the other branches. This one could be pruned back. It's starting to get a little vertical here. I want to grow out a little more horizontally. So take the tip off. There's one growing up from the inside here that needs to be, I think, removed. Yes, moved entirely. So that's much better. That's looking good. I'm just going to remove a few of these small branches that are too low on the canopy here. Some leaves, just to clean up the bottom of the canopy a little bit. All right, let's have a look at it from the front view now. Here's a shot of the front view of the tree now, and you can see it does look very short on this side, so this needs to be grown out again, you know, with that better branch structure. I'll come over onto this side of the tree now, and maybe I can reduce some of the length on this tree to kind of balance it out a bit. I'm having a look underneath the tree now, just checking out the branch structure. I do have one branch here that's growing very, very strongly. You know, it's thickening up more than the rest of them, so I will definitely have to reduce the vigor on that branch. Yeah, I'll rotate it around so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's a shot now looking up underneath the tree, and I've got a fairly strong branch developing here, and it's got a really strong tip on it, so that needs to be reduced to kind of balance out the vigor on these outer branches so I don't end up with one really thick branch here. All right, let's do some pruning. There's an old dead stub here I can clean out like that. There's a lot of branches at the tip of that strong one, but there is a branch back here. So I could prune the branch back to that earlier branch here. So let's do that. Here I go. So that's pruned back. That'll take a lot of vigor out of that. It still has a growing tip here. There's a shoot sticking straight up here I'll remove. I've got 3 branches growing from one spot here. I will remove this one. This one needs shortening. It's crisscrossing into the branch beside it. Shorten this one. Yeah, so you want to keep each branch having its own space so they're not all intertwined and choking each other out for sunlight. I can move this one, it's crisscrossing. This one is crisscrossing with another branch, just trying to, you know, give each branch its own spot of sunlight. That's looking better. Old yellow leaf here I'll remove. The branch back here I can remove. It's just going 90 degrees in the wrong direction. Just cleaning out some old dead leaves that are, you know, fallen into the branch structure in the canopy. So that's all looking much better now. Let's have a look at it from the front again. Here's a shot of the tree from the front now, and you can see it's still a little unbalanced. It's a little short on this side, a little long on this side, but that's a future goal, is to grow it out, you know, grow this side out, keep this side compact until it kind of equalizes. My next operation will be cleaning up the profile when viewed from the top. And I used to have it kind of match the pot shape. It was kind of an oval shape when viewed down from the top. And when I repotted the tree, I rotated the tree slightly, and it made the oval not really match the pot. So instead of the longest parts of the oval being left and right, they were kind of skewed a bit. So I want to correct that. So I'm going to look down from the top view and fix up that oval shape so it kind of matches the pot. I'm showing you as much of a top view as I can get in the plant room here. So now I'll come in and prune that profile to kind of match the orientation of the pot. So my widest part of the profile is left and right, and the shortest part is front and back. All right, here I go. I'll be, you know, doing directional pruning. Pruning back this long part, letting that grow out. A lot of old flower buds I'm pruning off here too, which is probably good. I finished pruning the profile from the top view as much as I can. It still needs a lot of filling in on this side. I'll try and get above the tree and show you, you know, kind of how the profile matches the pot. So here I go. I'll try and hold the camera up nice and high. Like that. So that gives you an idea of the profile from the top view, and it kind of shows you how I need to fill in this area again. So, yeah, that'll be something to work on for the future. Because the tree has been growing so well, I've kind of lost that separation between my branches, and it's kind of just filled in as one big green dome up top. But I'm going to leave that for now because it is the darkest part of winter, and I just want to let the tree grow for now. And we'll come back in another video and do all that branch separation and get the canopy looking nice. The last thing I want to do today is I want to remove these rocks. The roots have grown really nicely into this soil, and I'll rake away a bit of that top layer of surface soil and expose the roots a bit. I'll start by removing my nice reddish colored African rocks. Exposing that layer of soil, and now I'll get out my root rake and rake the soil away. All right, here I go. Just start around the base here. I'm getting a few fine root hairs that were growing up into that, soil layer that was piled too high, so that's okay. They'll dry up and disappear in the future, but nothing to be worried about. It's these main thick surface roots that we're trying to expose. And if I got the planting height of the tree right, the soil should be nice and level, and you still should be able to see all these nice surface roots. I'll remove the excess soil with a spoon and just collect it in a container. This soil can be reused. It's quite new. It's only 3 months old, so. I've got the soil leveled off now, so now we can go in and have a look at the surface roots. Let's fly in now and have a look at the surface roots. Try and get up nice and close. So you can see them, how they're, flat and radial, and how it's starting to get that nice taper at the bottom of the trunk, that nice root flare. And that really gives stability to the tree. Makes it look like it's stable in the ground. Yeah, so I'm really happy with the development of the roots and the tree overall. I used to have this tree in a forest setting where I had some cuttings growing around to kind of make a landscape. So here's the 2 trees that I separated last time I repotted it. I took it from a forest to just a single tree, and they're growing really nicely also. This tree, 6 years ago, basically looked like this one. So it's developed a long way in 6 years, and it still has a long way to go, but yeah, it's been a really nice tree to work on, the Serissa foetida. Really good species for, creating a tropical style bonsai. It's time now for today's update, and today's update will be the orchard truck, my 1972 Ford F250 crew cab. Let's head out to St. Mary's and have a look. It's the end of the first week. Let's go inside and see how the work's going on the orchard truck. The original build sheet for the truck was found behind the rear seat. I think I showed you that in another video. So they got that out in one piece, put it in plastic. So there it is. And you can see all the original numbers of the engine and everything. It's a good document to have. Here's all the replacement sheet metal parts that will go on the truck. Some structural members, like in the front hood area, cab mounts, cab corners. Yeah, lots of sheet metal that'll replace all the worn out, rusty parts. Here's a look at the truck. So the bed is off the back, the front hood is off, the front fenders are off. So it just looks like a cab on a frame. And I was looking at the truck, and the frame, it's all solid. They had a good inspection of it, and it looks really solid. It's in good shape. There is a lot of surface rust on, both the suspension and the frame. So I said, oh, it sure would be nice to get that sandblasted and painted. And they said, oh, well, we can do that for you. And I said, oh, really? And they said, yeah. And I said, would you have to pull the engine out? And they said, no, we can just bag the engine. All we'd have to do is take the cab off. And he said, everything else is already off. And I said, well, how much would it take to take the cab off? And they said, well, it'd take about 4 hours to unbolt it. It's just
one wiring harness, the steering, a few other things like, maybe some brake lines and that. So I said, well, the frame is the heart of the truck, and it would be a shame to get all this work done to it, and then you look underneath and the frame's all rusty and the springs and suspension. So I thought, all right, let's do it. I think this is a good decision. So it's all going to be media blasted. I don't know if they use glass beads or sand or what, but it'll all be blasted down and then primed with epoxy primer and paint. It'll be a gloss black. So that'll, keep the frame nicely protected for the next 50 years. And I'll probably apply like a rust coating to the bottom of everything once it's all done also. So get a really good, one of those waxy rust coatings that doesn't, not the kind that seals moisture in, but the kind it's like a thick wax that goes on the bottom. Like I think Crown Royal is one of the suppliers. Yeah, so I'll get that done. You can see the holes in the floor and all the panels that need fixing. So it's going to be quite a restoration, but I think the truck's worth it. It's a very rare truck, and they're getting rarer every day, and especially one that's pretty close to original condition. It's there's a lot of ones that be modified in that, but this has kind of got the original engine and everything, and there's been a bit of body work done to it in the past, but not much. So it's still got the original paint and everything. So yeah, it'll be quite a truck for the future, I think.
That's all for this cold, wintry day. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.